All right, guys, I have only just now recovered from my work week, right? I've gotten out of bed. I've taken like 3 naps today. I've been exhausted. I feel a little bit better. It's time to get back to work. It's time to do more reaction content. It is time to do the reaction video I wanted to do before I passed out last night, okay? Like, I wanted to do this before the Ricado retardation, to be completely bluntly honest with you. Like, I wanted to cover the situation. I wanted to talk about it because I felt like it needed to be talked about, right? I felt that Angry Joe has kind of shown his hand again. I feel like his anti-Nintendo bias is becoming really prevalent to the point where I honestly wonder if this is going to be kind of a big thing for him going forward. Like, at the very least, I expect Nintendo to win Best Game Adaptation at the Game Awards, and I expect them to win like Best Remaster. Metroid Prime is going to beat Dead Space, right? Both of those things are going to cause Joe to seethe, right? Zelda's going to win a couple of things. It's going to win Best Action Adventure for sure because Baldur's Gate 3 isn't competing against it, and it might even win Game of the Year. Who knows, right? Of course, I'm not going to hedge my bets on it. Like, I don't want to put myself out there and then say something ridiculous, but I think Nintendo's going to take a lot more W's from the Game Awards than people are expecting, right? People are talking about how Larian is the best studio this year. Bro, Nintendo has more nominations than any other company. They have like 15. I think the second highest is like 8. Okay, like, it is absurd how much Nintendo dominated this year and how people like Joe are in denial about it. And that is the word to use here, is in denial about it, because I watched this video a couple of times, listened to him talk about the Game Awards, talk about like what's going on, talk about what he expects to win, and I noticed something. I noticed that he has plenty of nice things to say about every other Game of the Year contender: Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man 2, Alan Wake, Resident Evil 4 remake to a certain extent. But the Nintendo games, Mario Wonder and Tears of the Kingdom, are made fun of and disparaged. It is the stereotypical anti-Nintendo thing. Let's take a look at.
Oh yeah, right now listed is currently unavailable, and to check back for more information on November massive restock. For this one.
Nominations.
So we'll go over some of the nominations. Your predictions on what you think is going to take it. So Game of the Year, we have Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3.
Yes.
Spider-Man 2.
Nope.
Resident Evil 4.
Nope.
Super Mario
Why
Wonder.
is Resident Evil 4 on there? And what?
Okay, so like, one of the narratives they had going into this year, like, every gaming YouTuber has been doing this. Like, the narrative has been that, like, this has been a great year for gaming. Well, if it was so great, why is there not more competition for Baldur's Gate 3? Like, everyone seems to unanimously agree that Baldur's Gate 3 is going to win. I don't agree with that. But, like, everyone is saying the same thing, is that Baldur's Gate 3 is the biggest release this year, which I would dispute. Like, I think Zelda's better. I think Mario's better. I think Hogwarts Legacy sold more, right? Like, by what metric is Baldur's Gate 3 the best game this year? Like, I think it's a niche product that appeals to a certain demographic of people. And, like, yeah, it's fine to like that, okay? Like, it's fine to like the game for what it is. But to say it's more popular than, all these other games, like, Baldur's Gate 3 might be the game that I would have checked out the last out of like everything listed on the Game of the Year nominations, right? Like, I don't think that gameplay style is really all that big of a deal. Like, I just don't think it'll ever resonate with mainstream audiences at all. And this is a mainstream award show. So, like, what is with the obsession with painting Baldur's Gate 3 as the game of the year, right? Like, this time next year, it's going to be another Elden Ring. It's going to be completely forgotten while Tears of the Kingdom and Mario Wonder are still played, enjoyed, and talked about, right? Like, I would argue Nintendo has already won because they have 2 Game of the Year nominations as opposed to, like, everyone else just having 1. Like, it's absurd.
Super Mario Wonder.
I didn't play it, but always popular Nintendo.
And Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Too similar to the first. But
Wrong. They're nothing alike. Anyone who has played both would know that. Like, you gotta love the cope that these guys have every time this comes out. Like, oh man, it's too similar. Like, I remember when people said the same thing about Ocarina being too similar to A Link to the Past. I remember people saying the same thing about Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess. Like, all of those games have gone on to become classics. You know, Twilight Princess was like the best-selling Zelda game for a long time, right? You know, no. Like, like you cannot just disparage a Nintendo game for being too similar to an earlier Nintendo game, especially in the case of Zelda, where you have known situations where people criticize these games for being too different, right? Wind Waker is a notable example with the art style change. Majora's Mask is a notable example because of the time limit and like the reused engine from Tears of the Kingdom. I would argue what we're going through now with Tears of the Kingdom is really similar to what happened with Majora's Mask back in the day. Like, those of you who weren't around back then don't remember this, but like there was a long period of time where nobody admitted that Majora's Mask was a good game. Right? Like, until like 2008, like Majora's Mask was considered like the black sheep of the franchise. And like it eventually got fans. People eventually like learned how to play it and learned what made it great and like understood what a unique title it really was. But like this is kind of my problem with the concept of like the Game Awards show in general. Like, you do not have enough time to play all of these games in a single year. So like nobody is going to have like the nuanced like look at like playing all these games and coming away with like which one is the best. Like, you eventually you learn to fall in love with games you didn't play originally. You learn more about them. You start realizing that they're a lot better than you thought they were. Like, I've seen this happen with games like Metroid Dread and Bayonetta 3 and Octopath Traveler. You know, like these games were reviled when they first came out for a significant portion of the audience. And then, like, they slowly started building up a fan base over time. You know, I remember we went from, like, Metroid Prime Federation Force to Dread in, like, what? A couple of years, like 5 years, right? We got Samus Returns, which was also criticized. Dread was well received, but there were plenty of people trying to say that it wasn't a big deal. And then, like, what happened? It became, like, the best-selling game in the franchise, outselling Metroid Prime. And kind of establish itself, I think, is like probably the definitive Metroid game in like for the next decade. I think Metroid Dread is a way bigger deal than people give it credit for. I think we're seeing the same thing happen with Tears of the Kingdom, right? I don't care if it doesn't win Game of the Year. Actually, I'm actually voting for Super Mario Bros. Wonder myself. I don't care if it doesn't win Game of the Year. Okay, my concern is seeing Tears of the Kingdom get the credit it's due. Like, my concern is seeing Super Mario Bros. Wonder get the attention it deserves, right? Like, this is going to be the thing you notice when you watch these videos, watch these YouTubers, is that they think that, like, if Zelda or Mario wins Game of the Year, doesn't win Game of the Year, that'll somehow, like, invalidate them and people will, like, just magically believe the games aren't good. No, that isn't going to happen. It is never going to happen. And it's just like, anyway, but
always popular Nintendo.
Yeah. I have no idea why Resident Evil 4 got nominated. It's a solid game. It's a good game. I don't know if
Where's Hogwarts Legacy?
Recency bias.
Wrong! Tears of the Kingdom came out in May. Like, you guys know the real reason that Hogwarts Legacy isn't being talked about. You know. You have to know. But you're damage controlling it. You're ignoring the real issue, is that like the whole Troon situation, right? It has nothing to do with the recency of the game. Like, Hi-Fi Rush got nominated for a bunch of nominees. Like, that came out before Hogwarts Legacy. The reason Hogwarts Legacy didn't get nominated for anything was purely for political reasons. And you know that. You are in full damage control mode. And I want you to keep in mind, like, this is the critical thing here. It's not just about Nintendo. Right? It's about the entire industry. Like, good indie games are being overlooked. Good content creators are being overlooked. Good developers are being overlooked. It's not just about Nintendo. Like, people have to acknowledge that people like this are a problem.
Bullshit. That's fucking bullshit. Hogwarts Legacy should be above Resident Evil 4.
Yeah. I would put Liza P.
That's a goddamn lie.
I would put Liza P.
Liza P. could make it as well. Yeah, you guys told me how great that game was.
Really
you know what else could have?
Told me? Like, this is going to be a trend you'll notice with this video, is that you'll notice Joe says that, like, oh, people say this game is good, or people say this movie is good. Like, he doesn't actually watch or play a lot of games, and that's been an issue with me for a long time. I believe, like, he actually gave Resident Evil 4 Remake a pretty positive score. I don't know if he gave it a perfect score or not. I guess we could check real quick, because I want to say he did. Let's see, Angry Joe, Resident Evil.
Oh.
Let's see. So he gave this game a 9 out of 10, and he's going to come out and tell us that, oh, it doesn't deserve to be nominated for Game of the Year. Like, Spider-Man 2, he gave it an 8 out of 10, right? Like, Spider-Man 2 has a lot more problems, I would say, than Resident Evil 4, right? Like, Spider-Man 2 shouldn't have been nominated at all. Like, it's weird, right? Really weird. And I've talked about this before. I actually caught him. He put, like, Resident Evil 4 VR on, like, his top 10 games of 2022 list or something. And then he confirmed later when the remake was announced that he never actually played more than a couple of hours of it. So, like, yeah, like, he doesn't play or watch the stuff he talks about. And it's becoming increasingly obvious. And it's a major reason, a very major reason, why I have such a problem with him. Like, how is anybody watching or taking this guy seriously? It's like, what are you doing?
Made it is Starfield. I hear really good things
won.
about it.
It already
it's
won.
the best. What
Liza
P could make it as well. Yeah, you guys showed me how great that game was. You know what else could have made it is Starfield. I hear really good things about it.
It already
it's
won.
the best. It's the best game. It's the best Bethesda game. And la 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 la.
It already won Game of the Year, didn't you see?
No.
It did. It won Xbox Game of the Year at the Golden Joystick Awards.
That game is so disappointing. Every day that passes, my anger and hatred for it rises. My 6 out.
Oh yeah, why'd you give it a 6 out of 10, Joe? If you hate it so much.
Out of 10 review on Starfield was generous, to say the least. It is dropping day by day. I wonder where we're gonna end up. You know, by the time we get.
Is he still playing it? It's weird to think about, but
come out in January, so don't expect a top 10 lists in December.
I'm putting up mine tomorrow.
Joysticks Awards, Starfield wins Xbox Game of the Year.
Wow, that's pretty sad for Xbox then.
Yeah.
The state of Xbox exclusives or games or whatnot.
So Hi-Fi Rush was also nominated. Dead Space, Pentiment.
Dead Space.
Hi-Fi Rush was
That's
also
another
very
one
good
that seemed to get snubbed, but I mean, I guess it already had.
Metroid Prime Remastered was better.
Its heyday back in the day, and it's a remaster. So if one is going to drop off due to that, then probably that.
So now we can definitely still get your Starfield Game of the Year edition because it did win Game of the Year. So this one doesn't matter because Starfield already won.
Fallout.
They throw Game of the Year labels on games that don't win anything. Like, that doesn't mean anything. Like, these award shows mean nothing. Like, it's just...
Fallout 76 Game of the Year edition.
Yep, absolutely.
Starfield Game of the Year edition. I love Bethesda's revisionist history. It's great. Game of the Year.
Yeah.
Game of this year.
Alan Wake 2 is a strong contender. I watched someone play through all of it.
He watched a playthrough of Alan Wake 2. Like, I've gone on record about this. I think Alan Wake 2 is the game that does not deserve to be nominated. Like, it's like not even in like the top 150 most played games of like 2023 or something, or like most bought games in the past month or something. Like, it is crazy, insane how nobody cares about Alan Wake 2. And yet, like, for this entire month, people have been trying to paint it as like a potential Game of the Year contender. Like, it's like it is tied with Baldur's Gate 3 for the most amount of awards it was nominated for at the Game Awards. Like, no, absolutely not. That is just absurd.
Which is not me playing it, but it's more of a story. And
yeah, I hear it's more story rather than gameplay.
Which is fine. I mean, it was actually really good. But
So Reza and the Lost Demon was better.
Because if you release your game,
Little Goody Two Shoes was better. It was even more woke.
it's really good right before the nominations.
it has more weight.
I'm gonna just do a public service now. Jeff Keighley does not choose these nominations. He's actually, he's been doing a bunch of videos because people are fucking mad at him all the time. He doesn't do that. It's a list of all of these. It's influencers,
reviewers, news websites. GameSpot, your GameSpots, your IGNs, your Kotakus, all the bullshit.
So I have no. Resident Evil 4 probably shouldn't be on this list, and I hear Super Mario shouldn't be on this list, but I didn't
probably
play it,
not.
So I don't know.
Mario Wonder is one of the best Mario games ever made. Okay? Like, it shouldn't be on the list. Are you kidding? Like, I am putting it higher on my list than Tears of the Kingdom. It won my game of the year. Okay? Like, does it deserve... No. Get out of here with that nonsense. That game is phenomenal. Okay? Coming from people who haven't played it, like, why would I ever listen to you? Okay? Like, unbelievable. No.
In Best Game Direction, Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man 2, Super Mario, or Tears of the Kingdom.
I don't know. I don't know about that one. I'd have to research.
Yeah.
Probably one of the I don't know. Probably one of the Nintendos. And probably Alan Wake 2 in that case. If we're talking about game direction, it's going to probably do Alan Wake.
What does that even mean? Like, I remember seeing the game direction thing, and it's all just Game of the Year contenders. Like, I don't know. What does that mean?
Similar thing, Alan Wake 2.
Oh, narrative. Okay, if there's a key, then that's probably Alan Wake 2.
Yeah, Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, which I don't think should be nominated as a DLC, but... Based.
Like, Cyberpunk shouldn't be nominated for anything. It should be banned from the Game Awards. Like, if you usher the words Cyberpunk 2077, you should be, like, escorted out by security. Like, let's just stop talking about this game, okay, in 2023. We could do an anniversary stream, like, making fun of it in the actual year 2077, but until that happens, let's just pretend that this thing doesn't exist. Okay, it's done.
I don't know.
There should be a DLC category, right? And have the best DLC.
So Nintendo can win that too.
Phantom Liberty would probably win that.
Yeah. So for best narrative, apparently DLCs are fine. So Cyberpunk.
There should be a best DLC category. If there isn't, we need to get one.
Final Fantasy 16 and Marvel Spider-Man 2. This is where Final Fantasy 16 is the highest on the list. Where Final Fantasy
That's another one that, okay. Honestly, it was just a lot of games out this year that we just couldn't cover it.
Yeah. So notice this. Like, notice how he acts about, like, Final Fantasy 16 versus, like, the Nintendo games, where he's always just like, oh, I didn't play that. Oh, I didn't enjoy it. It was too similar to the old ones. But, like, Final Fantasy 16, which is a game he 100% would not enjoy, he comes out and does this thing like, oh, we just didn't have enough time to play it, right? I'm sure it's good, guys, but no. Final Fantasy 16 was a disaster. Like, it's weird seeing, like, the contrast between that.
I wanted to play it more than I did, but I don't think it.
So, like, assuming this is true, like, even if he played Final Fantasy 16 for, like, a couple of hours, that's more than he played Tears of the Kingdom. That's more than he played Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Like, assuming that's true, he put more time into Final Fantasy 16 than games he probably would have enjoyed a lot more.
Gripped a lot of people as previous Final Fantasies have.
Yeah, it alienated some of the classics, and then there was a lot of yelling on the internet, and then I was told I'm no longer a fan of Final Fantasy.
Cool.
I'm not allowed to talk about it. Alan Wake 2 was nominated.
Yeah, so are people calling him out on this stuff? Because, like, this is legit a release that is probably going to kill the entire franchise. Like, Square Enix is in a bad position right now because of this game flopping the way it did. Like, it's weird to see, like, the damage control from these guys.
For best art direction,
I've seen this from, like, Maximilian Dude as well. I talked about that a lot with, like, Final Fantasy VII R came out, and he was one of the biggest shills for it. Like it does feel like gaming YouTubers are extremely protective of the brands that, like, invest in them and give them, like, access to events and, like, special privileges and stuff like that. Like, I think what's going on here is that Nintendo isn't doing that, and that's why, like, these guys are all so ambivalent toward them, because they're not making money off the company.
Hi-Fi Rush, Lies of P, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I don't see the Nintendo ones
What's
nominated for Best Art Direction. Hi-Fi Rush, Lies of P, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. I don't see the Nintendo ones.
Yeah, calling out the Nintendo games immediately for best art direction. You have no idea how good Super Mario Bros. Wonder looks, right? You have no idea how good Tears of the Kingdom looks, but like you're just gonna throw it out there, like, oh, they're not gonna win best art direction, bro. This isn't 2007, okay? We don't judge games based on how photorealistic they are. Like we judge games based on how much is actually happening on screen, right? How much like crazy stuff they can compact in like the art direction. And like they did an amazing job making Mario Wonder feel like this really cool, like far out cartoony world, right? Tears of the Kingdom has these really amazing set pieces, right? Dropping down onto like the ship, like the Wind Temple's like peak keynote, right? Like Tears of the Kingdom has amazing art direction. Like either of those two games could win it, and like everything else isn't really a competitor.
I don't know. There's some good art direction in some of these. Maybe Lies of P. Score and music, people are really upset about this one because it's Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy, Hi-Fi Rush, and Tears of the Kingdom. Tons of games, amazing music got left out of here.
I'm thinking they're trying to give a sympathy award at this point to Final Fantasy, so they're trying to find some way to put Final Fantasy into a sympathy category.
So there's audio. Let me know if any of these excite you. Audio design, best performance, best adaptation.
Best performance. What are those?
So best performance is Ben Starr in Final Fantasy 16, Cameron Monaghan in Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Idris Elba in Phantom Liberty, Melanie Liburd in Alan Wake 2, Neil Newborn in Baldur's Gate 3. He was Asterion, and Yuri Lowenthal in Spider-Man 2. I like Neil Newborn. I think his performance was pretty excellent.
Okay.
So as far as like video game adaptation, Castlevania Nocturne, Gran Turismo the movie.
Oh no! Here we go! Here we go!
Mario Brothers movie, or Twisted Metal.
I think this is going to be the surprise category. They're going to give it to the one that deserved it, which is actually Gran Turismo.
What are you doing? Like I had to clip this because like I could not believe what I was hearing. Gran Turismo, really, the least relevant movie out of anything on that list. Like even Castlevania, like has more credibility than Gran Turismo. Like Gran Turismo might be the least liked adaptation up there, right? And I don't say that lightly because like The Last of Us wasn't great. Like that is an insane thing to say, like in and of itself. But it gets worse.
So many good things about it. That it is a Gran Turismo. I hear so many good things about it.
I hear so many good things about it. He hasn't seen the movie. He saw The Last of Us. He saw the Super Mario Bros. Movie. I believe he saw Castlevania, but he's gonna give the award to a movie that he hasn't even seen. Like, come on, bro. And like, you're gonna notice this when we finish up this clip here, but like, he doesn't bring up the Mario movie at all as like a potential candidate, even though I would say at this point it is 100% guaranteed to win. Right? There is no way, there's no doubt in my mind that the Mario movie is gonna win this. Right? Like, but like he's in denial about this. Like Angry Joe has this really weird fixation on hating the Mario movie. He has one of the most like negative reviews of it I've seen in the gaming community, and it's absurd. It makes no sense. It's ridiculous, and like his hatred of it, his contempt of it, has like extended to other things as well. And I really wonder how badly he's gonna spurg when the Mario movie wins. Like I think it is gonna happen, but we'll have to see.
That it is a really solid, entertaining film. I still have not seen it. Maybe I could use this opportunity to go and see it.
If that's the case, the person who advertised that movie should be fired. Because I think that it looked like an okay movie. I don't think it looked. It's just like it just looked.
But
okay.
It's better than okay.
If it's excellent,
everybody that I know is saying that.
Wow.
So
I think
that
The Last
could
of
be
Us Last of Us is pretty high up there. I think.
No, no.
Yeah, that was.
It's a straight adaptation of the game. Like, it doesn't do anything interesting with the source material, right? Which wasn't that good to begin with. How exactly is The Last of Us excelling in any way, shape, or form? Nobody cares. Okay? The Last of Us is not a good story. It isn't a good show. It's not a good game. Like, stop pretending as if this is like some big IP. It isn't.
It's just so popular that I thought that
Nope,
maybe,
nope.
but obviously that's the shoe-in to win it, and the most popular choice.
Really? The Last of Us more popular than Super Mario Bros. One of the highest grossing films of all time, the third highest grossing animated film, the second most popular video game IP. You really think it actually has an original plot? Like, you really think that the Game Awards is going to give it to The Last of Us or Gran Turismo over Super Mario Bros. The movie? Like, it just isn't going to happen. They are going to lose a lot of their credibility if they do that. That is going to be something that they just can't do. Like, Nintendo won't be happy with them about it. Like, they won't be able to get away with it. It's just no.
So that they can get the HBO ad dollars maybe in the future, but if they were being
Like, the only way The Last of Us would win is if, like, they straight up take bribes from PlayStation. And, like, this is The Last of Us we're talking about, so it's not impossible, but, like, Naughty Dog's really struggling right now. And I think it might be possible that they might not continue investing in the IP. We'll see. But I think they're going to have to take the L because there is no going up against the Mario movie. It just isn't going to work.
if you're being a contrarian or a surprise pick, rather, it would be Gran Turismo. That's how good Gran Turismo is.
Best ongoing game, Apex Legends, Cyberpunk 2077, which I don't think in any way counts. Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and Genshin Impact.
I will never vote Genshin Impact, so Fortnite for the 14th year.
Yet nobody cares about Genshin Impact. Like, why do they keep throwing it up there? Like, oh, there's so many cosplayers at events though. They're paid by the company. Okay, Genshin Impact is not popular. Can we stop pretending as if it is? Like, it is The Last of Us of China. Okay, like, it is not that big of a deal.
In the row.
Best indie is Cocoon, Dave the Diver, which we played and we did a video.
Yeah, there was a huge controversy there, though, that that's not actually an indie game because it's funded by a multi-million-dollar company, and even the developers are like, yeah, we're technically not indie. You could take us off if you want. So I'm curious if they're going to take them off before, or they're like, yeah, we're not hearing you. We don't care.
We don't care. I don't think they've got a chance in hell because I think Dave the Diver was excellent.
Yeah, David the Diver is going to win,
and
even though they're not an indie game.
Yeah, and
technically,
Dredge is also really, really good. I mean, so these are games that we played. We actually did videos on, and they're just like. But CSR's was good too, and Viewfinder.
If I had to choose with no controversy surrounding it, it would probably be Dave the Diver.
I'm gonna skip over best mobile game.
No, tell us.
All right. Best mobile game: Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, Honky Star Rail, which I think
are basically all the ones you should stay away from.
Yeah. Honky Star Rail, I don't know what it is, but I think it's about white people. Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
It's about sci-fi white people.
Sci-fi white people. Monster Hunter Now and Terra Nil.
Okay, yeah.
So if you want to play games while shitting, check out one of those games.
Okay.
Best action game. This is where it's like I don't know what the fuck like how they're determining what's action and what's but Armored Core 6 is very good. Dead Island 2, Ghost Runner 2, Hi-Fi Rush, and Remnant 2. This feels like all of the ones that got
Armored Core 6.
All the ones that got snubbed earlier on like they're like just throw them all in best action games.
This is the action category. Go.
But what about some of the okay?
No, all right.
Best action adventure game, which is different than best action game. Alan Wake 2, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4.
That's probably where Spider-Man 2 can pick it up.
Jedi Survivor or Legends of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
I don't think Spider-Man 2, is very award-winning, but I do think the industry believes it is. So I know Spider-Man 2 is winning something. So it could probably be that one.
Yeah, it's gonna beat Zelda in Best Action Adventure. Really? Like he really thinks that's gonna happen? Really? It's just
Best
no.
RPG is Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy
Baldur's Gate 3.
16, Lies of P, Sea of Stars, and Starfield. It's like I don't know what people are considering like RPG and action games because like Lies of P doesn't necessarily.
No, not
fit.
Liza P and
It's like,
not Final
I
Fantasy.
think the
It's-
game developers officially considered Souls-likes as hardcore action games.
Yeah, to be
not
perfectly honest, the Game Awards this year, a lot of the categories and the games in the categories, I would categorize as not great. Improvements needed to categorization, to nominations. Not necessarily Jeff's fault this time, and this is, the uh, voters and selection process.
jury.
It's a little awkward. It feels a little off. But I will admit that the Game Awards under Jeff's direction has gotten a lot better since when we were covering it, and Megan Fox was winning Best Voice Actress over motherfucking Jennifer Hale from Mass Effect 3 when the shit.
Right. Like, okay, I know I've been saying a lot about like this game should beat this game or whatever, but like the Game Awards has no credibility. They really don't. Like, why are we even talking about this? It's just like, who cares, really? Like, my thing about this is that like people are gonna use it as a way to attack Nintendo, and they have been. But like, other than that, I don't really care. It's like, well, like it's a bad award show. Like, what else do you want me to say? It's like,
Megan Fox did a really good job in Mortal Kombat 1, though.
Yeah, and that just shows you how full of crap that fucking award was when she won for her performance in Transformers, the video game.
Yeah. The one funny one is Best Community Support. So we've got Baldur's Gate 3. That makes sense.
Oh, you know what? I read a story where one guy, Coach of the Year, he's like, let's be honest, I didn't do any coaching this year, so I think I should be removed. That's what I was thinking about when one person asked to be removed from the awards.
Okay.
We'll see if he's actually removed from the awards. Don't remember his name, but it was like an esports coach of the year, and he's like, but I didn't coach this year.
Oh.
So
And look, the people who are making these nominations, it just shows that sometimes they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
it's a popularity contest sometimes.
Well, and you've got 100 people. There's no way that we play a shitload of video games, and we actually play them start to finish. And a lot of these outlets, they don't. And you
Yeah.
can really tell
like Final Fantasy 16. Like you admitted you didn't play more than a couple of hours of it. Assuming that's true, I've speculated that you didn't actually finish Elden Ring. I know you didn't finish Resident Evil 4 BR. Like, don't try and convince me that you finish video games. That you have more credibility than the actual game journalist. Like that's the big takeaway I've been wanting to emphasize lately. I really need to make a video about this. But like, I feel as if gaming YouTubers are worse than gaming journalists right now. Because like gaming YouTubers feel like they're bigger shills, they make way bigger leaps of logic. People have a lot more faith in them to do things, so they end up like really going all out in all sorts of steps. Like I think like gaming journalists have to stick more to like an actual narrative, and like they can't just like bullshit their way through any situation like Joe does, right? They actually have to like be consistent to a certain extent.
that they don't.
Nope.
But Destiny 2 got Best Community Support, a game that is currently on fire, its lowest play count ever, and it's blaming its community.
Yeah, with the expansions done poorly and the story.
Destiny was never good.
It's excited, and they realize they fuck it up, and they fuck it up, and they fuck it up. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
All right. Well, we'll see. When is the Game Awards? That's December 7th.
I
The
believe.
same day a bunch of video games come out. There's a bunch of video games coming out December 7th.
The only thing I care about at the Video Game Awards is one on Baldur's Gate 3 to win, and I got to see Elden Ring DLC announcement trailer. That's it.
Will we?
Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 winning. Like they're so desperate for Baldur's Gate 3 to win. So desperate for validation of like the Game Awards acknowledging their shitty computer RPG. Like they're so desperate for that. It'll be really interesting to see what happens if it doesn't win. And I'm not saying it won't, because it feels like an industry thing that they want Baldur's Gate 3 to be pushed. But like it is possible that it won't win. And I'm curious what's going to happen if it doesn't. I expect to see some spurging. Like it's definitely. I definitely feel as if they're gonna get like angry about it if that happens, and I'm very curious to see. I really do hope that happens, so we can react to it on the channel. I would really look forward to that. I would really enjoy it. If it does win, who cares, right? Like who cares? Like that's my issue here is that like whenever I do these these videos, I'm just like, oh, I want this to win, but the Game Awards is corrupt, so it probably won't, right? That's how I frame it. But these guys want to like present it as if like this is some valid award show, and it isn't. Like it's just not.
We will be covering it, guys, so stay tuned for our coverage of that. We want to thank you. We want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving with friends and family.
Okay. So keep in mind, okay. So one of the things I noticed when watching this for the first time, right? Like they don't talk about games like the best strategy card category, right? They don't talk about that at all. The reason being is that category this year is loaded with Nintendo games. Fire Emblem Engage, Pikmin 4, and Advance Wars. 3 out of 5, right? And all the relevant ones are Nintendo. So like it's obviously going to go to a Nintendo game. But in this video in which they go over all the categories, they didn't talk about that at all. Like, I don't care what wins as long as it's not Pikmin 4. Like, I don't care what wins that category, right? Like, I don't care. But, like, I find it interesting that the game that is the one category this year that is, like, most definitely going to go to a Nintendo game was completely passed over by these people, right? They didn't talk about Fire Emblem Engage. They didn't talk about Advance Wars. They didn't talk about Pikmin 4, right? Great Nintendo games this year, like, in general, right? Like, Fire Emblem Engage should win that, by the way. But, like, it's like, okay, why are you not talking about the Nintendo games? Like, you keep insisting, like, Dead Space is going to win, like, Best Remaster or whatever. Like, Metroid Prime is better than it. Like, it has a higher Metacritic score. Like, it probably sold more at this point. Like, Metroid Prime is a female protagonist. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that, like, Metroid Prime is going to come out on top over Dead Space simply because it has a female protagonist. Like, that's all anybody cares about. People are going to see Metroid going up against Dead Space, and they're just going to be like, well, I don't want to be a misogynist, so I'm going to vote for Metroid, right? Like, it's going to be really funny to see this. Like, I was surprised a couple of years ago when Metroid Dread won Best Action Game in 2021. Like, I was surprised when I saw that, but, like, in hindsight, that makes a lot of sense, because game journalists love Metroid because of what it represents. Strong female characters in gaming. So I think it's possible that Metroid is in a unique position where it could actually win quite like Metroid is, I think, going to be a weird nominee for future years where like it clinches categories that like nobody would think it would win, right? Like I think we are going to see that happen in the future. I could see Metroid Prime 4 stomping a bunch of like major AAA like sci-fi shooters, for example. Like I could see that happening, right? But they didn't talk about that at all. Like they didn't talk about anything in regards to Nintendo here, other than saying that like, oh, Tears of the Kingdom rehash, oh, Mario Wonder didn't play. Like they didn't talk about it at all, right? Like it's embarrassing the links they'll go to avoid talking about the Nintendo W's this year, right? To avoid talking about like the Switch in general. It's so strange to me. Like, it really does feel as if, like, they have some kind of vendetta against Nintendo. And I think that'll be really obvious when the Game Awards actually premieres and Tears of the Kingdom does win a handful of awards. Now, it's not going to win. It might it might not necessarily win Game of the Year, but I don't think it has to. Like, just the fact that this game is going to get, like, nominated for so much stuff and, like, win a fair handful of stuff is going to be, like, frustrating for them. Right? They're going to see the Mario movie win. They're going to see, like, Metroid Prime win. They're going to see, like, Fire Emblem win. Like, all this stuff that they've ignored over the past couple of years is gaining in popularity. And, like, their attempts at ignoring it and, like, pretending as if they aren't, like, interesting, they are absolutely failing. Like, it's not stopping the growth of these franchises at all. Quite the opposite. And I'm curious to see like how he reacts to like the Nintendo W's that are certainly gonna happen at the Game Awards. right? Last year we had like the Mario Rabbids freak out. I can pretty much guarantee you we're gonna see more of that this year. And I hope a Nintendo game wins Game of the Year. I hope like Baldur's Gate 3 like takes a massive L. But like I'm not gonna hedge my bets on it, considering how much that game has been shilled. But it's certainly not impossible either, right? Like we'll have to see. But until then, I will see you all next time.